every year. Thank you very much.
And Advant. And now, we stand by with rapt attention to listen to and comprehend the inaugural lecture by Padamshree Dr. Madhava Menon, who has come from God's own country, Kerala. Sir.
Respected President of the function, Advocate Vishnupant, Principal Rao, Honorable Judges of the High Court, Judicial Officers present here, distinguished members of the Bar, the management members of the MP Law College, Aurangabad, members of the faculty, other invitees present here, and dear students. I am grateful to Professor Rao, Mr. Advant, and others who have initiated this lecture series and asked me to address you this morning. But finding before me such an august assembly of very distinguished people of this city, including a large number of students, I am finding it a little difficult to whom should I be addressing. It must be a subject which must be equally interesting to the students looking forward to their career in the legal profession. It must be of interest to the honorable judges and the lawyers who are in the audience and the citizens of this city, the cross-section, many of whom could be assembled by the organizers to attend this Saturday morning for this lecture. But being a memorial lecture, I am constrained to prepare a text and give it in advance. And I am happy that Principal Rao has got it printed, and hopefully by the end of the lecture you will get a printed copy of what I have to say by way of the memorial lecture that I have promised to deliver. But I would like to seek your permission, and particularly Mr. Advant, to speak outside the text and convey certain ideas, some of which are provocative, controversial, but nonetheless relevant to a community of legal fraternity assembled here, to think about the future role of the legal profession and the legal community in a great country like India, 1.3 billion people, 1/6 of the human race in planet Earth. Every 6th human being in planet Earth is an Indian. A country which is aspiring to be on the leadership of the world, very legitimately. A country which has over 600 million people of the younger age group who have a productive age of 40 to 50 years ahead, when the rest of the world, particularly the advanced countries in the West, are aging and their productivity is slowly coming down. We, along with China, are going up with a population that is capable of taking us to the 21st and 22nd and future centuries. An economic giant that India is waiting to become. Politically, in the leadership, a democracy that has survived so many challenges. When several other countries around us have collapsed in democratic governance, we have sustained rule of law in democracy and human rights in a manner that is comparable to the leading Western democracies, the liberal democracies. We are therefore proud to be an Indian, provided we are able to make this 600 million youth of the country capable to lead this country in a knowledge society with the intellectual competence to be creative, to be able to compete with the rest of the world, we can look for a very bright future. We are told that we are now in a knowledge society, where knowledge is wealth, intellectual property. And knowledge is created by human activity. So if human beings are endowed with the intellectual competence for innovation and creativity, we will have generated wealth in future that can take this country forward and the rest of the world. Because it is not a narrow idea that I am talking about. Our philosophy tells us, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. The whole world is our family. Sarvo Bhavantu Sukhinaha. If you look into the tenets of the ancient Indian legal thought, you will find that is a world philosophy. That is for the goodness of the entire world peace, coexistence of the weak and the strong, tolerance, non-violent change. All these are sustained by a civilization that prevailed in this part of the world for over 2000 years. We are the owners of that tradition. With the modern science and prosperity that we can achieve by our youth, and with the tradition of 2500 years of civilizational experience, what this country could be in future world, you can all imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, in such a context, I want to present to you some thoughts, particularly with respect to legal profession, legal education, and governance according to law. How could we organize, taking into consideration the strengths and weaknesses of the existing system of governance, of administration of justice? I want to share some thoughts in this memorial lecture. Well, before I say so, I must appreciate the good things that I heard from Mr. Rao and others about the progress that this college has been making in the legal education front in a relatively backward region, catering to the educational needs of a relatively rural population. I would submit to you with all humility, it is easy for the national law schools who select the cream from among the students who graduate from the 12th standard through the CLAT examination, 80 or 100 students, and to make them achieve excellence is a relatively easy job. Whereas you select students, not that cream, but with people with much less capacities and opportunities for achieving educational excellence in their higher secondary school. And you take such people in and are trying to make them as competent as people who are graduating from the National Law School. That requires a much more difficult job, greater challenges on the part of the teachers and management. Therefore, I believe that MP Law College, Aurangabad, for the last 50 years and more, has been doing a commendable job in developing legal education and putting Aurangabad in the legal education map of India and hopefully in the Asian region or in the world in years to come. Established in the name of a leader of the freedom movement, Manikchand Pahade, the college has provided access to the study of law to several generations of students, not only of Maharashtra, but of other parts of the country as well. I understand the college has adopted clinical methods of law teaching, encourage students to engage with the community through your extension activities, and research club, placement cell. These are interesting initiatives which one can commend on the part of the management of the MP Law College. With a distinguished list of alumni in important places in the judiciary and the legal profession and in government and in public life, MP Law College, Aurangabad is well on its way of becoming a center for potential excellence and hopefully to become an independent university by itself in the near future. I am thankful to Advocate Shrikant Advant, member of your governing council, and my good friend Dr. Rao, for inviting me to deliver the inaugural Vishnupant Advant Memorial Lecture. It is a generous endowment instituted by Shrikant Advant in memory of his distinguished father and long-time member of the Aurangabad Bar, which made the event possible. I wish this gesture of Shrikant Advant is followed by every successful lawyer in this district, so that legal education is helped and supported to achieve greater level of excellence in the cause of rule of law and access to justice for all. Having been neglected by both the government and the profession for a long time, legal education is now looking up at the prospects of building quality and character for better access to justice. However, there are many challenges facing the system of legal education today, of which the most fundamental is its ability to respond to the unmet legal needs of the large section of marginalized people, poor people. I would like therefore to devote my lecture substantially to address this challenge of how legal profession and administration of justice is less and less relevant to the large portion of this marginalized section of the people. And we need to address that in the coming years if rule of law and democracy were to survive in our country. Why do I say that legal education is in a bad shape despite National Law School 5-year course and clinical methods and what you have? Well, despite all the progress made in legal development since independence, legal education today is in a state of disrepair. I'm not saying it. I quote the Prime Minister of India, who the other day spoke in the Vigyan Bhavan to judges, lawyers and other distinguished people. He said, if you look at legal education in India today, he said, it's a sea of mediocrity. There are few islands of excellence here and there, but otherwise legal education in 2013 in India is a sea of mediocrity. This is the Prime Minister of India speaking earlier this year. The reason for it, this is not the time for me to analyze, but I should say that the regulator of legal education, which incidentally is the Bar Council of India, will have to take squarely the blame for the mediocrity that it perpetuated during the last 50 years and more. The so-called regulator, the Bar Council, will have to explain a lot in the making of law colleges the abode of mediocrity. Governments at the center and the states have also contributed by starving law colleges and legal education of funds necessary to develop the quality of legal education. It was after a bitter struggle of litigation by one of the members of the Bar Council of Maharashtra that law colleges started getting government grant in aid. Otherwise, when all other types of colleges were getting government grant in aid, law colleges were denied. It was left to the civil society or the profession to promote legal education, and the government has totally washed off its hands. That was the state of affairs. The emergence of the 5-year integrated LLB program and the National Law School movement, where now we have more than 16 national law universities, to some extent have saved the situation. Even for that, the Bar Council of India is taking the credit. Let them. Yet there is no vision of the future, nor any effort to mobilize concerted action to develop legal education to fulfill the constitutional mandate of justice, social, economic and political, guaranteeing the dignity of every individual and the unity of the nation, which is the preambular promise that the Constitution has made to the people of India, we the people of India. If that is the mandate for legal education, and that is the function of the legal profession and all other legal institutions including the judiciary, one need to ask today as to whether it did serve to transform justice, social and economic to the people of India as Dr. Ambedkar envisaged it. Well, this is a challenge which need to be answered, and I will give you some significant causal relationship. A significant part of the country today, if it is under insurgency, Naxalism, if corruption has overtaken all aspects of life, public life and governance, if women and children feel increasingly insecure even in our metropolitan towns, and if economic inequalities have widened despite all the planning and redistributive efforts